Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault news video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We got a couple stories for you today. We're going to talk about a little Hogwarts Legacy all the way through to the latest ARC news / drama. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. All right, first and foremost on the table, a little bit of disappointing news for you Hogwarts Legacy fans. It looks like the DLC plans that I believe were never officially announced have been canceled. But it looks like there still are plans for a second Hogwarts Legacy in the works. This was reported by Jason Schreier, and it looks like the Warner Brothers said there wasn't enough meat basically on the bone for it to justify the price tag they wanted to put on it. So I guess they probably, to make a long story short, from the sound of things, it looks like they had to charge a certain amount of money to make money off of it, and they just didn't have enough to do that. So yeah, not happening right now, guys. So hold on to your horses, and it looks like we're just going to have to wait for that inevitable sequel down the road. Next up, Monster Hunter Wilds. So in just a couple days, April 4th, we're going to get Mizutsune in the first major update with, of course, a new monster to hunt down as well as some other changes, which is awesome. Mizutsune was introduced in Monster Hunter Generations, and fans have been looking forward to seeing it with every entry, apparently. So it's going to be nice to see it again. It was in Rise, so should be a nice little monster to check out. I think you won't be able to hit it until you're a higher level, like Monster, Hunter level 50 or something like that. So it's going to be kind of like an end game type thing, which is cool. I'm still playing through this game, still enjoying it. I'm only doing it on live stream, so it's kind of some slow progress for me there. I got to get back and make a few more videos on it, but I've just been stretched myself so thin, I haven't had a chance to do that. And part of the reason I'm stretched so thin is this next story we're going to talk about, and that's Atomfall. Now, Atomfall is a brand new game from Rebellion. It's a brand new IP as well. A lot of people, myself included, have called it a British Fallout game. It's got ghosts of Stalker in there, little tanks of Stalker in there. People have compared it to Metro, a couple other games. Everybody wants to compare it to something, and the more I play it, the more I see that it's got its own identity, and I'm really, really, really liking this game. Now, it's just came out a few days ago. I got a little bit of early access to it, so I played it a couple days in advance. The Steam chart numbers right now aren't huge. It peaked 9 minutes ago. Its all-time peak at the time I was filming this, and this is Sunday, the 30th of March, 5,829 players. Do I see it going up from there? I think this is a game that's going to get some legs and maybe get a little higher up. This is the opening weekend. Usually opening weekends are the highest a game gets, especially in a AAA game, because that's where all the hype is. This is kind of one of those sleeper games, and I think as word of mouth gets out there and more people talk about it and people recognize just what a good game this is, it's going to get out there. And I'll give you kind of like a mini overview of my thoughts on it. I'm still, I don't know, maybe 8-10 hours into the game. Maybe not even 10, but somewhere around 8 hours into the game. And I'm giving it a very positive vibes from the game. I'm giving a very positive feedback to it. Overall, I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the mystery of the game. I like the gameplay of it. The gunplay is a lot of fun. The AI could use a little work for the enemies. I came across a couple guys recently where I had some high ground on them. I popped one with an arrow, and the other guy just stood spinning in circles going, "Oh, who shot him in the head?" Derp, derp, derp. It's like he didn't even look up at me. I'm like, come on, dude. You just spun around in circles while I shot you. And I clipped him with the first, or I missed him with the first arrow I shot at him. And he's like, "Oh, somebody shot an arrow. I wonder where that came from." It's kind of ridiculous. But what I really love is the game doesn't hold your hand. So there's no, you got to figure out things on your own. It doesn't give you missions. It doesn't give you map markers and all that other kind of stuff. It gives you leads, and you follow up on these leads, and you kind of have these notes in your pocket so you can decide which ones you want to follow up on, which is awesome. You don't have to create a character. There's no voiced protagonist, which is kind of cool. So all that nonsense of seeing yourself in a game or being seen or whatever, that doesn't exist in this game. You are just a nameless voiceless character that all your communication is done through text. So that eliminates all that stupid identity BS that all these people want to cry about in games. So take that off the table right there. You don't have to worry about that. There doesn't seem to be any romance options. I haven't seen a glimmer of that in the game, which thank God. I'm so tired of that crap. There doesn't seem to be any weirdness at all, any weird out of place racial identity, sexual identity, any of that crap. It just seems like a straight up game set in England in the 60s, and it feels like a lot of fun. I'm loving it. Highly recommend it. Let's move on to another highly recommended game, and that is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky just released another update. Every time I turn around, these guys put out another update, and it's absolutely insane. So in January, which was 2 months ago, they just put out Worlds Part 2 with another expedition, and now they put out a Relics update, which is wow. So Worlds Part 2 put out all kinds of visual enhancements. It gave us a new expedition. It gave us gas giant worlds, quality of life improvements, all kinds of stuff. I cannot tout this game enough to you. If you have not played No Man's Sky, play it. Go out and buy it and play it. Guarantee it's not full price. Somewhere along the way, you'll find it on a discount. If it's not on a discount right now, it will be in 2 weeks. It's always kind of cycling through that. It's the game that keeps on giving. Every update to this game has been free. They have not charged an extra dime for it. There has not been one cosmetic DLC that you had to pay for, anything like that. It's been steady update after steady update. New features, new quality of life improvements, upgrades. I mean, it's endless what happens. Now, to make a long story short, this game was one of the worst releases of all times when it first came out. And, it was over-promoted, oversold by, I think the press had a lot to do with it. And maybe Sean Murray talked it up a little too much, and the team talked it up a little too much. They went too far, and people expected so much. And, as gamers, we're never guilty of expecting too much out of a game when it comes out, right? No, we always do. It's terrible, right? So when it came out, it flopped, and it flopped hard. It was like a fish on the dock, man. It just died. So instead of walking away from it and going, oh, God, let's lick our wounds and quietly move on to something else, Sean Murray and his team fixed the game one update at a time. And all the features they promised that weren't there, they added. And then they kept going and adding more and more and more and more. So get this game. Hello Games, you deserve all the accolades you get all the time, all the love from everyone. God bless you. Now, we got to move on to some other stuff. Hoo-wee. So, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft, lots of stuff has been going on with this company here, and none of it's good. Back on Thursday, Ubisoft announced that it's creating a new subsidiary with Chinese technology giant Tencent, who invested 1.16 billion euros, which is about $1.25 billion US dollars, into that company. Now, what they're doing is they're partnering up, and they're focusing on 3 brands, the 3 biggest Ubisoft brands: Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. This is according to what they're telling us here. Now, shares of Ubisoft were 10% higher, roughly, shortly after Europe's opening bell on Friday. Now, so Ubisoft said in a press release Thursday that its new unit will focus on building game ecosystems designed to become truly evergreen and multi-platform, whatever that means. Now, here's my thoughts on this matter, and, forgive me for being such a cynic, but I've been around for quite a while, and I understand how the world works and how things work. So I saw people talking about this online. Yay! Tencent went in there. They're going to clean house and get rid of all the bad actors, and we're going to start going back to the classic Ubisoft that just put out great games and no more of this woke nonsense and all this other crap. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is Tencent invested. Now they own 25% of the of these games now, right? 25% of these IPs. So for every dollar that's brought in by the subsidiary, a quarter goes to Tencent. Now, we all know Ubisoft sales are down significantly. They may be touting 3 million people are playing Assassin's Creed Shadows right now. But when we look at Steam's database, it's not showing anything close to that. And I know we can't use that as a barometer for everything, that there are other platforms out there. I'm fully aware of that. But you can kind of judge how a game is doing by that. If a game's doing well, it's going to be doing well on Steam data on SteamDB. If it's not doing well, it's not going to be doing well in there. It's going to be doing well in other places, right? So it peaked on its opening weekend at 64,000 players, and it has not reached that number since then. Here we are a week later, and it's down to 46,000 in the last 24 hours. So it's already lost 20,000 players. It's roughly lost 33% of its player base in a week. That's a lot, okay? So this is not growing. Now, we talked about Atomfall earlier and how Atomfall may grow, and it might not. I expect it to kind of grow based off of reviews and as the word gets out on it. But a game like Assassin's Creed, everybody anticipates it, everybody pre-orders it, everybody buys it day one that wants it, and then they play the hell out of it and all that. So it's front-loaded. The sales of a game like that are front-loaded, whereas a game, a AA game or an indie game, tends to be, their sales tend to work a little differently, where they're a little more even-keeled and in for the long haul, you know. But in any case, my thoughts on this matter are Tencent went in and they bailed them out with some money, and they said, here you go. Now you owe us a quarter for every dollar you make. Now, Ubisoft is not making any changes, so their next game that comes out is also going to, quote unquote, to use their terminology, underperform. And when that game underperforms and the subsidiary begins to lose money, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Tencent has a lot of money. They can afford to suck wind on this for a little while. Ubisoft cannot. A couple of years down the road, 2 years, whatever, I don't know how long it's going to take, depending on how bad things are, they're going to be in trouble again. That's when Tencent moves in and says, okay, here's some more money. Now we own 51% of this company. Now we're in charge. And they can get rid of Guillemot. They can make whatever changes they want to the company and fix things and set things to the way they want it to go. Will it be right? I don't know. You know, Tencent's a Chinese company. I'm not a big fan of China's politics and all that, communist country and all, but I will admit China's put out some damn banger games in the last few years. So I am a fan of their gaming community and how they're, how they put out some games. So I trust them a lot more to put out the next Assassin's Creed than I do Ubisoft. So that's my thoughts on the matter. I might be wrong. I might be completely off. This may save them. They might work well together, and we might see a resurgence in Ubisoft. And if that's the case, then good for them. You know, I've been really hard on Ubisoft. I know they're worried about their jobs in the studios there after all this and after the abysmal sales, quote, my word, for Assassin's Creed Shadows and all that. And, I have no mercy for them. And a lot of people are like, well, you can't, there's some good people that work there. Yeah, I get it. There's some bad players, but well, you know what? If there's good people that work there, they should have stood up and they should have pushed back and they should have fought back. And I should have said, no, I don't want to be a part of this. If we're making a game set in feudal Japan, I don't want to be a part of all this identity politics nonsense. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be a great experience. I want it to be something that people are going to go into and immerse themselves and lose themselves into. The missteps along the way have been astounding, and I'm going to do an entire video on that, but it's just been astounding and embarrassing for Ubisoft and everyone involved. They deserve to lose their jobs for what they've done on this. I'm sorry. They can go work elsewhere. If they're good developers, I hope they find good jobs with better companies that don't want to do stuff like that. Companies like Rebellion that want to just put out a good game and not fill it with garbage, Or maybe they can band together and form a studio and make their own game and do it without all the nonsense. That's the way to do it moving forward. Get away from these toxic people. Get away from these activists disguised as developers. Now, we got to talk about Ark. Oh my God, Ark. What are you guys doing to me? All right, so first off, we had a major update on Thursday. Thursday was a big day. And I'm not going to go through all the patch notes and all that. I will link to them. I'll link to a couple different things here from today's stories. But yeah, so the big thing, the good news was we finally got the Dinotherium. It was supposed to come out Wednesday, but of course it was delayed. You know, it was probably even ready on Wednesday. It was probably ready to go. And Wildcard's like, you know what? Let's just delay it one day. That way people don't expect things to be on time just because. I'm kidding. But yeah, so it came out Thursday. And we went out and tamed. I didn't do any. I was sick Thursday. I really didn't do any live streaming. I didn't feel well. But Friday we went out and we tamed, I think, 7 of them. And they weren't broken. You know, they showed up on, we got them on Scorched Earth, and we got them on the center. They were showing up on the island. They were showing up on Extinction. So I think they were showing up on all the maps they're supposed to show up. And even they're showing up on Astraeus now. I got one on Astraeus, I think, Saturday after the live stream and all that, just farting around. So, yay, it works. The taming method works. It's fun. It's entertaining. And if you play Ark, I highly recommend these guys. They're sick, man. They're really sick. They're a lot of fun, and they're tough as hell. Currently working on getting them ready for a boss fight. I want to fight the dragon with them, so that'll be a lot of fun. But they put out some really good gameplay changes and some quality of life stuff. Like, you know those little annoying trophy skeleton pieces you got that started with Extinction, like the spines and the skulls and all that? They stack now. Thank God. Not only do they stack, they're grindable, and they give you a little bit of keratin when you grind them. Yay. And they reduce the amount of pieces that are dropped by about 50% because it was getting ridiculous. I mean, your inventory would fill up so fast. So between the reduction of them dropping and the stacking, that's fantastic. Alone, even if you didn't get the keratin for them, that would have been enough. But getting the keratin's cool. Now I don't have to throw them out all the time. I can say, all right, well, I'll bring them back and I'll throw them in the grinder and get some keratin for them. The wind turbine has been redesigned for gameplay and balance, so yeah, whatever. Tesla Coil's got some balance, and there's been a lot of changes. You know, so take a look through the notes if you haven't already. Like I said, I'll leave a link to them down below. Here's a funny thing. They fixed the Zeppelins to transport wild dinos to grief other players on PvE, so you can no longer, I guess, bring something awful and drop it into somebody's base. You know, people are so mean. They added some Santiago notes to Aberration and Expedition. So yeah, so that's that on that. That's some of the good news there, but we got bad news, right? So they promised us a couple things in March. The upgrade for Unreal Engine 5.5, as well as the Ragnarok map. And here we are at the end of March. And we didn't get either. And we're not getting either. And I called it, I think 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know, they haven't said anything yet. They're going to wait till the last minute, and they're going to delay us. My thought was June for everything. I was like, you know, they're going to delay us till June now. That's probably the next... You know, because I'm kind of going off prior experience. If you can't tell, I've been down this road a few times with them. You know, it's always like, a couple more months, a couple more weeks, a couple more. So the first delay is always pretty significant, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then that last delay is always a day. And then it's usually just a few hours. Like, all right, it's going to come out tomorrow at noon. And then at noon, they're like, we're still running into some problems, but it'll be out by 8 o'clock tonight. You know, it's classic wildcard. So anyway, the UE 5.5 upgrade, they're telling us is now delayed until between, March? No, I'm sorry, April and May 15th. That's their new time window. So that means it doesn't mean it'll be out April 15th, I'll tell you that. So when they give you a time frame like that, most people hear things and they go, oh, it's going to be out April 15th. No. Don't expect it out April 15th. And don't expect it out May 15th either. It's not going to be within that time frame. I can almost guarantee you that. It is what it is. But Ragnarok, which is being developed with the 5.5 engine, that's the reason that it's not out yet, is because 5.5 is not done. they're telling us that's going to be June 2nd, ride or die. Whatever that means. So there's my June prediction right there. And that probably means that 5.5 is going to come out closer to June. Now, eventually they're going to go back and upgrade these old maps with 5.5, but it's not going to be an immediate thing, but that'll be down the road. I imagine that'll be the last thing they do after, developing the new maps and all that kind of stuff. Now, a little bit of good news. We're getting Excellent Adventures back this year. That's something that I've missed. I always enjoyed that event. That's a seasonal event that comes out around Easter time. I remember Dodo's laid like little Easter eggs everywhere. You could collect those, put them in a cooking pot, get all kinds of cool skins and stuff like that with them. And one thing I always liked about the Excellent Adventures was the Easter colors. They really gave you some really nice colors with the Easter event. So that was always a lot of fun. They're targeting that sometime in April, but they haven't locked down a date yet. Hopefully it'll be before Easter. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if you're on official, you're at their mercy. If you're not on official, it's going to be a mod. You can run it at any time. I've got a cluster. I've got different seasonal events running on every cluster. I've got Fear Evolved on one. I got Christmas on one. Everything's running with a seasonal event. And I kind of rotate them through the different maps every few weeks. So just to keep it fresh, keep it fun, and keep these different colored dinosaurs coming out, different. So it's kind of fun. Makes hunting a lot more fun if you're looking for some specific colors and all that kind of stuff. So some good news on that. No real big updates on the ASE thing with Aquatica. Everybody's still pissed about that. So haven't really heard anything new about that. A lot of creators are saying they're done with ARK. A lot of players are saying they're done. I look at the Steam numbers and we're still divided roughly 60-40%, roughly, at any given time on the player base, which sucks. If you could unite that player base under ASA, you'd have a decent player base, but having 30,000 on one and 20,000 on the other, give or take, not good, man. Not good. It's dividing your resources for two different player bases, and it's got to be tough for a company to do that. It's got to be frustrating, but whatever. It is what it is. Anyway, leave your thoughts down below on all this kind of stuff, and let me know what you think. A lot of stuff going on this week, but leave a comment on the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.